And right now, we are 2 minutes away from the end of the trading day. Romaine Bostick alongside Alix Steel. We're counting you down to the closing bell, here to help take us beyond the bell. It's a global simulcast with the entire team. Scarlet Fu joining us in the TV studio. Massar and Tim Stenovec in the radio fishbowl. Welcome to our audiences across our Bloomberg platforms. On what, Carol Massar? Looks like it's going to be another down day. Modest losses, but a third straight day of decline.
Modest losses. And again, I'm struck by some selling into the close, right? I feel like, again, this is a trend line we haven't seen. And I think this is the second day in a row where we're kind of seeing this movement. And it just makes me wonder, are investors a little bit nervous about maybe not getting those 3 rate cuts or 2 rate cuts and maybe not even 1 rate cut this year?
Well, we should point out, too, I mean, we're at the end of the quarter, too, or end of the month and the quarter as well. So, and given how much equities have run up, you're probably going to see a little selling, maybe some profit taking and rebalancing.
And why not? I mean, year to date up 9%. So that's a pretty good quarter on the S&P 500. On the Nasdaq Composite, up 8.7%. Look, not the end of the quarter yet at this point, Scarlett, but that's a pretty good one.
Yeah, well, prepare for the next 2 days to look like today as well, where you just have a lot of nibbling around the edges. No one wants to make any big moves, especially with PCE coming out on Friday when the markets close. You're not really going to be able to react to that until Monday morning.
Totally right. Also, I should point out that the S&P is, 13 to 14% above its 200-day moving average. So we've been quite extended. So any kind of softness shouldn't be too much of a surprise on that front.
Absolutely. And you fold into that what for a lot of people is basically a holiday week. A lot of folks on vacation with a Good Friday on Friday, and of course Easter Sunday coming up as well. A volume slightly lower than where it normally would be over the last 30 days. Modest losses here on the day as we get the closing bells in New York. The Dow Jones Industrial Average lower by less than 0.1%, down roughly about 15 points as we wait for these numbers to settle. The S&P also down by a similar amount, roughly 14 points. That's about 0.3% lower. The Nasdaq Composite is going to finish out the day lower by about 0.4%, and the Russell 2000 down on the day by 0.2%.
All right, digging a little bit deeper into the S&P 500, so those big cap companies. Hey, folks, almost an even split, but a little bit more to the downside. 214 names, Scarlett, actually higher for the session, the Tuesday trade. 282 to the downside, and you've got 7 unchanged.
All right, let's take a look at the sectors through the IMAP. It'll show you that 8 out of the 11 sectors are in the red. Plenty of red there. In terms of the big decliners, you have utilities and tech and energy leading the way down. Ironically, or maybe not so ironically, 2 of those groups were among the best performers yesterday. Healthcare, financials, and staples kind of bucking the decline, but not by a whole lot. They're up at most by 1/3%.
All right, guys, to the individual gainers, I go. The number 2 gainer in the Nasdaq 100 today is Tesla. That stock at its highs up about 6.7%, finishing the day just shy of 3%. An Italian newspaper out reporting that officials at the country's industry ministry contacted Tesla about potential production of electric trucks. So maybe some speculating that that's why we saw Tesla trend a little bit higher in today's session. We know Tesla has certainly been under pressure. Stocks down about 28% so far in 2024.
Oh, look at that board you got there. This is like the Carol Massar board. Tesla, Trump, and Krispy Kreme.
Yeah, that's my world.
I mean, just put Royal Caribbean on there and we're all set.
That's me in a nutshell.
No, the Nasdaq Golden Dragon Index.
All right. Wow. All right, I'm moving along here. All right, let's go to the ticker DJT, which stands for, of course, Donald J. Trump. It's actually called Trump Media and Technology Group. That one up almost 60% at its highs today. Its first official day of trading. We know it was a SPAC, and so, of course, a merger with Digital World Acquisition. It's an unprofitable company. This is something that we've been trying to dig into a little bit more today. Finishing the day with a 16% gain, but soaring. It did also trigger a brief volatility-related trading halt, but nonetheless, as I said, some outperformance in that one. Day 2 will be an interesting trade, no doubt. Krispy Kreme, yes, I actually don't eat Krispy Kreme, but nonetheless, if you go to McDonald's
That's
now,
quite the flex. You just don't like donuts?
No, they're not donuts. They're like sugar blown up in donut form.
they're like air, right?
Yeah, they're like air sugar.
They're like
really
air
good.
All right. Well, anyway, investors kind of gobbling them up today. Stocks up almost about 40% in today's session. $17.35 a share is the close. Soaring the most since, I think, 2021. McDonald's, July of 2021. McDonald's agreeing to bring the donuts to restaurants across the U.S.
That would be the IPO, Carol Massar.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
This is why we have you here. Those little
Is this
nuggets that just make us
Thank
smarter.
you, because I was trying to figure out.
That's exactly why. Nonetheless, the nationwide rollout is expected by the end of 2026. So some of you will have to wait. I'm done.
You're done?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
Let's see what Tim has.
I do want to start with UPS. You guys were just speaking to UPS CEO Carol Tomé a little earlier. Shares ended up closing down 8%. The company did come out and say earlier today that sales and profit will grow over the next 3 years, but investors were skeptical that the targets are within reach. The stock fell. Alex, I loved your question. You started the interview to Carol Tomé asking her why investors aren't liking what they saw. Earlier in the presentation, she said, if I can answer that question, I would probably have a different job.
It was a pretty good. It was a pretty good CEO answer.
Yeah,
like I
mean,
respected her for throwing at that.
kudos to you too. Hey, also. Keep an eye on shares of Maersk, the ADRs at least here that are traded here in the U.S. Doing that, of course, because the Dali, the Singapore-registered container ship that struck the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore early this morning, was operated by a charter company, Synergy Group, but is time chartered by Maersk, carrying Maersk customers' cargo. The company did say none of its crew and personnel were on the vessel. Shares today down, ADRs down 2.44%. And then how about a little?
And I saw some of the other stocks related to that Baltimore port also moving lower, including a lot of those coal companies as well.
Yeah, certainly worth keeping an eye on what happens when it comes to supply chain challenges over this tragedy, and we'll of course keep you updated on that. How about a little paper company M&A to round things out? International Paper shares falling 6.5% on the day. This after reports that the company wants to launch a formal offer for the British multinational packaging business, DS Smith. The concern that International Paper investors may have is over a possible bidding war because Mondi did agree to buy it for about $6.5 billion just a little bit ago. Sky News did report that International Paper was considering an offer for $6.31 billion or more for DS Smith. So a little paper packaging bidding war happening here, potentially.
A side note on Maersk, I was talking to a BI analyst, Bloomberg Intelligence analyst, and think of Maersk in this instance as basically the rider in an Uber. So they're not the Uber or the driver or the car. They're just the person in the back seat. I thought that was really helpful.
But they do have cargo on there.
Yeah, but you're just riding in it.
Yeah.
You're just riding in it.
Yeah.
Yield's doing nothing. That's what I got.
Okay, that's a good.
Wasn't there a bond auction?
Yeah, but you got something.
All right, yeah, we have GameStop earnings. And when I say earnings, yeah, maybe it turned a profit in the fourth quarter. Adjusted EPS of the fourth quarter was 22 cents. Analysts were looking for 30 cents. When I say analysts, literally two analysts had projections. So take it with a grain of salt. Fourth quarter net sales, Carol, $1.79 billion. Analysts, two of them, were looking for $2.05 billion.
Yeah, and just to remind everybody, I mean, it's down about, 11, 12% so far this year, and it's got a huge short position on it. About 22% remain of the float is shorted. So, yeah.
Yeah, but this just kind of continues that trend. We were joking yesterday with Bailey Lipschultz about the idea that they are actually showing profitability this quarter, and Bailey pointed out that's because it's a holiday quarter, but you still got sales down 20% or 19% on a year-over-year basis, which seems to be the trend that they've had now for, I don't know, how many quarters? I've lost track. 14?
I would say we'll find out more on the conference call.
Will we?
But there will be no conference call
today
for GameStop. Once again, the company's saying
Nicely played.
They will not be holding a conference call today, but referring people to the 10K for additional information.
That's very accessible to everyone.
Yeah.
So that stock down 13%. But, you know, if I pair this with the DJT, clearly meme stocks are still of interest, just maybe not GameStop at this moment.
Where's the growth coming from for this company? Because I'm just going through hardware
what does it do
and
again?
accessories down 12%, software sales down 31%, collectibles down 25%.
Do they still have actual stores?
That's
Yeah,
not
they
growth.
do.
That's,
They do.
They do.
That's,
Oh, wow.
business going down, right? That's not growth. Like you say, you do wonder, right?
It's not growth.
Like, why are
There's a
people
negative
doing
sign
it?
in front of it.
Expenses are going down 21% year over year, so that's a good thing.
Okay.
Long-term debt remains limited to a low interest rate environment. That's something. Anyway,
Well,
that stock down 15%.
Can we talk about
17%.
donuts?
Can we talk about
More about
You
donuts?
want to do more about donuts? Or how about, wait, you want to talk about
Do you remember, well, speaking of which, remember when Krispy Kreme was like the meme stock? Way back
in
when?
the day? Yeah.
Way back in
I once
the
got
day.
yelled at by my boss because I told him, it wasn't really a news story. Yet here
And
I
look
am.
at it now.
Look, McDonald's, wants them in their stores.
Well,
So
that's actually one thing that surprises me about the Krispy Kreme story is just how long it's going to take for this rollout. They said by next year they'll have this partnership in
Anything
place.
that McDonald's does takes a long
Just
time.
because of the
because
scale?
of the scale.
you
It's so
can't make
massive.
Happy Meals happy so quickly. or happier.
Exactly.
It's just
changing one ingredient causes all these ripple effects up and down the supply chain.
I thought we were getting healthier. Forgive me. I thought we were going to healthier food.
Well, yeah, you can do that, and then you can get your injection of your weight loss drug.
Welcome to Sarcasm Television. This is just kind of that mood. Yeah, kind of interesting. All right, guys, that is a wrap. Our cross-platform coverage, radio, TV, YouTube, Bloomberg Originals. We will see you. We will be happier, maybe, tomorrow. We'll see you for Beyond the Bell.